Hi, welcome to the DC Marvel Battlecast, where we discuss all things DC and Marvel related and debate who would win in versus battle matchups. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
The song you heard at the beginning was Their War Here by Hans Zimmer and Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL. It's from the Batman v Superman soundtrack, available on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you buy or stream music. And this is the podcast where we review Batman v Superman. I've been looking forward to this for so long. I can't wait to talk about the film.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
There absolutely is.
Both good and bad. Mostly good for me. I think overall I really enjoyed the movie. Certainly more than all the critics did.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. It's so hard to not like the film when there were so many things that I've always wanted to see in the film.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I think, the most comic accurate interpretations of pretty much all the characters across the board. And I know some people who are listening to this who hated the movie are like, "What the fuck are you talking about? No, it wasn't." But no, yeah, you'll get to hear our take on it later on in the podcast. Yeah. But for now, we want to start off with some news items. One of them being Batman related. The Lego Batman movie trailer dropped earlier this week.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I think, and especially after seeing the Batman v Superman movie, how adult that movie was and mature and everything, I felt better about enjoying the tone of that movie. Knowing that, if you're looking for a lighter tone for the kids or something, that this movie is available. The Lego Batman movie is available.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things, I want to address when we get to the review was just how adult the film was and, how many hard questions it asks. And the first time I've seen the movie twice now in theaters, Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
And the first time I was watching it, like, almost just throughout the movie, I was like, am I going to take my daughter to see this movie? I mean, she's only 5, so, and she hasn't seen Man of Steel yet, but it was something that I really wanted to share with her just because of, like, Wonder Woman especially. I want her to love these characters as much as I do. But
I would recommend taking her to see Lego Batman. Not because I don't think it was too mature for kids. I just don't think that they're going to find much to enjoy as far as the tone of the film. There's not. I don't know. I just don't think there's much in there for small children.
Kids like fun, and this trailer was super fun. And actually, there were 2 trailers.
I did not see the second one. The only one that I saw was the one called the Batcave trailer teaser.
Yeah.
The one that's online that you can see, and I saw that before Batman vs Superman.
It just opens up. I love how it opens up with, like, from the studio that brought you Batman. Batman Returns.
I'm surprised they mentioned, like, the bad ones, like Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. They went through all of them.
The Lego Batman is just so narcissistic. It's like even in the online version, and not the one in theaters, they didn't have this opening where he's beatboxing, and he's like, this movie was directed and edited and
sound mixed,
choreographed, and beatboxed by me. It's great. He's a great character.
Do you take Batman as the kind of guy who enjoys rap music?
After I saw the Lego Batman, I did. It was great. No parents. It was darkness. It was great.
Yeah,
it was hilarious.
Yeah, I really liked the Batman movie. I know the
Batman
I'm sorry,
movie
the Lego movie.
Yeah, the Lego movie.
I know the Lego Batman movie is not being directed by Christopher Miller and Phil Lord, the guys who did the first one.
No, who's the new director? Chris McKay or something? That's probably wrong.
Scott McKay? I don't know.
Something like that.
Some name, some mix of first and last name.
Mix something McDougal.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm familiar with his previous work, but judging from the teaser, it looks like they have, like, a whole bunch of kind of Easter eggs just sprinkled out throughout the entire thing. With the Lego movie, just kind of like random stuff that you don't even really see unless you take the trailer frame by frame, There were some pretty neat Easter eggs in this one. I like how at first I thought I like the robot servant voice. At first, I thought they were going to go the Jarvis route.
It was Siri.
Yeah, it was Siri's voice. I thought I was like, oh no, are they not going to use Alfred? Or are they just going to go, the Iron Man route? But she mentioned Alfred. She said Alfred's out.
Yeah,
but he left.
And he was actually in the other one.
In the other.
In the one that you haven't seen.
Okay.
So in the other one, I'm not sure how many people have seen it. I saw it the second time I saw Batman v Superman in theaters, and I was actually surprised. I was like, oh, this is different. This is interesting. It's Batman. It probably takes place after the scene where he's eating the lobster in the one that's online, in the version that's online. But he's like in his, I don't know, study. There's a fireplace, and he's looking at his a picture of his parents on the wall. It was a photograph of him and his parents, and he's like, "Hey, Mom and Dad, I saved the world again, or saved the city again. Think you'd be really proud of me." And then like Alfred like comes into the room and like startles him, and so like Batman like kicks him, and like he drops his tray of food and stuff like that. And he's like, "Oh, Alfred, you shouldn't speak about me. I have the reflexes of a panther," or something like that. Anyways, and then Alfred's like, I forget what Alfred told him to do, and that kind of kills the joke. But Batman was like, no. He starts throwing a tantrum. No. And then he turns it into no. And then he starts beatboxing. and then he's like, oh, that was sick. Alfred, were you recording? And then Alfred was like, no. And then he's like, what have I told you? Always ABR. Always be recording. And then they like go into like the rap music of like, it's a rap rendition of na. It's actually pretty cool.
That's so awesome. I love the Lego universe, how they can, it's all fan service pretty much. Alfred is being voiced by Ralph Fiennes, right?
Oh yeah, the cast for this is going to be so good. Ralph Fiennes is Alfred. You have Michael Cera as Robin, Rosario Dawson as Batgirl, Jack Black as the Joker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good cast.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun cast.
And then I wonder if I imagine Jonah Hill. I don't know. This probably hasn't been confirmed, but like Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum.
Oh, they were the Flash and Green Lantern in the last movie.
Superman and Green Lantern.
Superman and Green Lantern?
Yeah,
okay.
Channing Tatum was Superman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I hope they get them back.
Yeah, it looks like they have the whole Justice League in this movie.
Yeah, which is really
the
cool.
Big Seven.
They have the Big
Aquaman,
Seven.
Cyborg's in there.
Cyborg.
Green Arrow was in there.
Yeah, Green Arrow's in there too. The Big Seven plus Green Arrow, which makes sense because of the TV show.
Yeah.
Just his popularity right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like as he's going through the Batcave how he has those multiple robed suits. And then when he put the lobster in the microwave, and he's like, oh, not 20 minutes. Stupid. 2 minutes.
How many of us have done that?
And then I don't know, I smiled through most of the trailer, but I actually laughed out loud when he was just kind of standing there, and he was like, did that weird thing with his mouth. Yeah. I was like, yep. That was pretty hilarious.
No, I mean, I definitely think the second one, the one with Alfred, was more funny. I'm kind of surprised they didn't make that one like the main advertising one,
or at least release it online for people to see.
I'm sure they will later. Yeah, you'll see it eventually later, I'm sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think the poster that came out and the title card for this trailer, I really like it. Like the yellow background with the Batman logo made out of the black bricks and everything. There's just something
black and yellow.
Yeah. It's simple but effective.
It's sort of the reverse of the Luke Cage title treatment, although they're both blocky.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the logo with like the hip hop song in the background.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Do you want to go into the Luke Cage teaser?
Yeah.
So at the end of Daredevil season 2, which we have both watched all of that, and we'll be reviewing that on the next podcast.
Yeah, that's next week or next
podcast.
Next podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna dedicate this episode to Batman vs Superman, and then the next episode to Daredevil, since they kind of came out around the same time. But at the end of Daredevil season 2, was after the credits was a teaser for the Luke Cage Netflix show.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was after the credits.
Yeah,
I just saw it online.
Oh no, It's kind of like how the after credit scene for the movies. This was like the after credit scene for
Oh,
the show.
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I liked it. It was I wish Luke Cage would have been wearing his yellow shirt.
He was. I think it was underneath his jacket.
No. I looked.
Oh,
Trust
really?
me. It wasn't yellow.
Maybe I just imagined it there.
It was just his street clothes. I thought it was a pretty cool line where he's like, "I'm about sick of always having to buy new clothes," and then they get blasted through the wall and
It
stuff.
was a pretty short teaser.
Yeah, it was really short. But it definitely teased. I like. You never really got. I think the hip hop kind of vibe is big, especially with Luke Cage since the early 2000s. Because and like in the Max series, I remember Luke Cage had like gold teeth and he was wearing like
He had, like, a
chains and
grill,
stuff.
yeah.
It was kind of stereotypical, but ever since then, he's always kind of had this slightly more hip hop vibe to him. I think, depending on who's drawing him and who's writing him. But I thought that was pretty cool because you didn't get a whole lot of that in the Jessica Jones series. So
I still haven't seen that.
oh, you gotta see it. It's
Did Luke Cage see a lot of action?
He did.
Jessica Jones.
oh yeah, he was in a lot of that show.
Really?
Yeah, he was in at least half of the episodes, I think.
They have him and Jessica Jones sort of have like the same powers, except she could fly.
No, they don't have the same powers. She's stronger. No, they're about the same strength, but he has unbreakable skin. She does not. She's not impervious. She can't really fly. It's more like guided falling.
She could fly in the comic.
Kind of. She says that in the comic too. It's more guided falling. It's not really flying.
Interesting.
So, yeah. I guess similar powers. They're both strong. They both have that going for them. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, it was a short teaser. I think that's all there is. Dude, what were your impressions of it?
Oh,
I love Mike Coulter.
yeah, he seems like a great Luke Cage. I mean,
Yeah, you should watch that season.
I need to. It's just so hard. Like, I would.
It's because you never read Alias.
I didn't read Alias. I know of Alias, and I know like pretty much all the story of it and stuff like that. But it's like I don't buy every comic. It's
right.
I don't consume every single piece of superhero media and TV. Like I don't watch Gotham,
especially like Marvel, since you're the DC guy.
Yeah, especially Marvel.
Yeah. But Jessica Jones is worth it if you liked Daredevil. It's a good show. Jessica Jones is a really good show. As good as Daredevil season.
I want to see it. I want to see it after I everything I've heard about it, and
I even think it was better than Daredevil season 2. My impression is that Daredevil season 2 was not as strong as Daredevil season 1.
Really?
Yes.
I completely disagree.
Even though Daredevil, because I went and watched Daredevil season 1 again. It was really strong. Even though he wasn't in the costume until the last episode, it was good TV, and he was in his costume for this entire season. However, I think the first 10 episodes were really, really strong up until through the end of the Punisher trial, and when he went to prison. After that episode,
spoiler alerts. Spoiler alert.
I'm just gonna say after that episode. Come on, that's not really a spoiler. The Punisher goes to prison, right? No? Dang it. He always goes to prison.
Don't say why. Don't say anything else.
Well, he went to prison because he kills people. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, spoiler alert, Punisher kills people. Anyway, after that episode, I think it was all kind of like tying up all the storylines, and it really stumbled into the finish line. So, I think the first 10 episodes were as strong as the first 10 episodes of season 1, and then it stumbled. But overall, I still really liked the season. I'm not disappointed with it.
We'll get more into that.
Yeah, we'll get more into that later. Basically, just saying you should watch Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I know, like, I remember just from reading, what was it? The New Avengers? All New Avengers? The one where the Sentry basically shreds.
Oh, that's the New Avengers, after they were disassembled and then they came back.
Well, I know of the Purple Man from there. What did they call him in Jessica Jones?
Kilgrave. That's
Kilgrave.
Yeah, Zebediah Kilgrave is his name.
Okay. Well, I know him as the Purple Man.
Yeah.
But just knowing him as a character, I didn't realize that he was the villain of Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now that I know that, ever since I heard that, actually, I've wanted to see it.
Well, he was
and to see Luke Cage. Honestly, the only, like, the real appeal of me watching Jessica Jones is just basically to see Luke Cage, Power Man.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, he's really good in it. When Mike Coulter was first cast, I thought, oh, this guy's too small. I would have preferred somebody like the mechanic guy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That guy's huge. But,
You know who I wanted?
who?
Terry Crews.
Terry Crews. Oh, yeah, I remember he was in the running. The other Old Spice guy, what's his name? The guy who's on a horse. Where he's like, I'm on a horse. That Old Spice actor. He was in the running for Luke Cage. He campaigned heavily for it. I remember way back in the day, I remember Tyrese was maybe going to get the part. And
What?
And Jamie Foxx was in the running for the part.
Jeez.
That's when John Singleton was going to direct that movie. And then, it evolved into into a Netflix series and everything. But Mike Coulter is just fantastic. He's straight out of the comic. And I don't really know of him prior to his casting. I didn't see any of the other shows he was in, but he's really good. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it. You know what else I'm excited for? Is the X-Men Apocalypse movie that's coming out later.
The new trailer. That's right.
Yeah. I think it was a pretty good trailer. I think it was cool that we got to get a close up of what Apocalypse looks like. We see his face and everything. Although there were some shots where his face looked a little bit rubbery, or like he was doing duck face or something.
It was kind of goofy looking. There's like Bucky Beaver kind of teeth. I don't know.
Kind of a little bit. I'm just glad that he doesn't look like Ivan Ooze anymore.
I agree there. The white every time he like does the white eye kind of thing. Is cool.
Yeah, he looks.
I don't understand why it's not in more comic book movies.
The white eyes.
Why do I need to see? Yeah, the white eyes. It's a cool look.
I think Deadpool took a good risk there, and they proved that we don't necessarily need to see the irises and everything.
Well, even with like V for Vendetta.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not every actor, I guess, like can pull that off. It's sort of like I don't know, theater acting, where like you're behind a mask and you like need to project and convey emotion without showing your face. Like you can't rely on that.
Yeah.
But it's doable.
It is. And Oscar Isaac is a fantastic actor.
He's a great actor. I loved him. In Star Wars, and I thought he was great in Ex Machina.
Yeah.
He's like my idol now after Ex Machina.
Yeah, Ex Machina was a great film. I think it was like ranked as like the best sci-fi film of last year.
I agree.
He's a great actor. I'm glad that he's in this role. And
for sure.
Yeah. Overall, the trailer, I think the only part I really didn't like about the trailer was that song again.
What? You didn't like that from the Super Bowl one either?
No, not really. No.
I love that song.
The Coldplay song.
Yeah, it's so moody and it's so.
It is, but it's kind of it doesn't excite me for the film. It's very moody. It's kind of depressing and everything. I don't know if that's the vibe that they're going for.
It's like a film about like the end of humanity. I mean.
Right, but we know that humanity doesn't actually end in this movie.
Spoiler alert.
That's kind of like the whole thing. We kind of the stakes aren't as high in this film because we already know that if you go further down this timeline, you're gonna see what Wolverine saw at the end of the Days of Future Past movie.
Well, the timeline kind of split, so I mean we kind of don't know that.
We do know that. Oh, at least that's the way the science worked at the beginning, like the whole time travel science thing. That's how it worked in that movie.
It's kind of true.
So I mean, we know that all Cyclops is gonna live. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are gonna live. I don't know. Quicksilver may die. I don't know.
He's not gonna die.
No.
Too
good of a character.
Did you see the photo that they released?
Oh, that's right.
It was when I saw that I was like, oh, this kind of spoils the film, just because it was a photo of like all the characters like in their 90s costumes.
Right. The kind of classic.
Which was a cool costume because like I don't like I don't really care for like the black leather look as much as the next comic fan. I do like the bright, colorful blue and yellow costumes.
Yeah.
But right when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, I guess all of these people live
to get their new costumes at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of my whole issue with the movie in general. I feel like it kind of neuters Apocalypse because we already know that he's gonna be defeated, and the X-Men are, and you kind of know that with all superhero movies, the bad guy never really wins, but
Spoiler alert.
but in this case, I think it's even more so because we've seen the future of these people, and it's not as interesting to me. And the movie itself, all the other superhero movies that are coming out this year have something unique and interesting about them. Deadpool certainly did. I wasn't sure about Batman vs Superman, but after seeing it, that movie was definitely unique. I don't think any other superhero movie that comes out this year is gonna be anything like that. And Civil War is going to be different. Doctor Strange is going to be different just because
Suicide Squad
by the fact that
different.
Suicide Squad. Doctor Strange will be new, and it'll be going to the realm of the mystical and things like that. But this movie it kind of seems more of the same. Like big, world-threatening bad guy. They team up to attack him. It's not really showing anything new, and the fact that the stakes aren't there, X-Men Apocalypse might be my least anticipated film for this year.
Superhero film. Yeah, now that Gambit is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting.
But
I still think that the
still think it'll be
timeline
good.
split. I think that like Wolverine sort of like healed his timeline, like from like they sort of like retconned X-Men 3. But other than that, I think this is a new.
Yeah, he snapped back to the original to that time, but this timeline is going to flow into that one.
Is it though?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because okay, so at the beginning of X-Men Days of Future Past, yeah, so otherwise that means that Kitty Pryde and Bishop died every single time, but they didn't. They would disappear because the previous timeline that they would go back into to change the future, it would flow. That would become the new one, So
You're right. Wow, they really screwed themselves over.
right,
Fox.
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I said, and Deadpool was set in the modern times, so I think eventually this timeline is going to flow into that one, and I think they're going to pull an X Factor where they bring the kids into. At least I'm hoping. I think that's the only way they can have the X-Men meet up with Deadpool. Otherwise, the movies are going to be decades past until they catch up.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to do a 90s movie.
Yeah,
movie.
I wonder if Wolverine. Do you think Wolverine makes a cameo in this film?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I know he's working on his X-Men 3 movie right now. Patrick Stewart's going to be in that one.
What?
Yeah, that's old news. They announced that.
When did they announce that? I don't remember ever hearing Patrick Stewart was going to be
that
in
was
that.
months ago.
Really?
Yep. It's going to be
What? That's so fucking confusing. Gosh.
Yeah, they keep jumping back.
It's
and
like
forth.
the whole Deadpool thing. I get so confused. Is it McKellen or McAvoy?
No, McAvoy or Stewart.
Yeah, McAvoy or Stewart.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tricky. It's definitely tricky. So going back to the trailer, it starts off with the first line, with the line, does it ever keep you up at night knowing they'll come for you
the
and your
McKellen
children?
and Stewart line, that like their first opening lines from X-Men 1, which I thought was an awesome callback.
No, those weren't the opening lines from X-Men 1. Those were the ending lines. Those were said at the end of the movie.
That's right.
It was 16 years ago that movie came out. And my impression when they said it at the beginning of this trailer was, too soon. But 16 years is a long time. It's not too soon.
Yeah.
If the first X-Men movie were a person, it would be old enough to drive right now.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
We are old as shit.
I was looking at it wasn't too long ago. I was looking at this photo of Hugh Jackman. It was like him from the first X-Men movie to like now, and he looks so completely different. It's weird for like most actors. You look at like I don't know, like
James Marsden.
James Marsden hasn't like aged a day since the first X-Men movie.
No.
Or like even like Tom Cruise or Will Smith or something like that. It's like, why does Hugh Jackman look so different? He wasn't like that old when he first took on the Wolverine role. I feel like it has to be something with like his workout routine. It's like where he gets like so buff, and then like he does another non-Wolverine movie, and he's like,
he
just
loses
like this,
it.
Yeah, he loses it. That has to age your body. That has to do something.
Possibly.
To your body.
It's that Australian blood. Makes you rugged quicker.
Makes you age faster.
I don't know. Yeah, that's true though. Yeah.
I feel like he should have been Wolverine a lot longer. If like he was, I don't know, if just like James Marsden could still be Cyclops. You know, like he could play that
still
age
that
range.
age, yeah.
But like I feel like Hugh Jackman is just he just sailed past it. It's ridiculous how much he's changed.
Yeah. Yeah, not like the other actors. Did you see James McAvoy's hair in this movie? He reminds me of James Spader from that one John Hughes movie. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't 16 Candles. What was the other one with the OMD song? That was like, if you leave, don't leave now.
I don't know any of those movies or any of those references.
Well, Pretty in Pink. He looks like James Spader from Pretty in Pink. It's pretty hilarious. He kind of looks like
the 80s.
He kind of looks like a douchebag. He has a douchebag hair, but it's pretty funny. So going back to the trailer, we see what looks like the birth of mutants, maybe. We know Apocalypse.
That looks super interesting. I mean,
we know Apocalypse is the first mutant.
Yeah, we know he's the first mutant. But they when they're showing his origin, when Moira was explaining that, there's two, and they flash back.
There's
to
two slabs.
Yeah, there's two slabs. There's two people. One of them is Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
And the other is
I don't know.
It looks like Apocalypse.
Is it his armor, or is it an alien, or is it?
It's ancient Egypt. You think it would be alien?
Do you think they're implying?
What does that imply exactly? Does that imply that mutants are the result of some kind of human alien hybrid? Because I always like the idea of it just being evolution.
Right. Well, I mean, if you go back far enough in the standard Marvel timeline, mutants came about because when the Celestials first visited Earth, they came down and they kind of planted those evolutionary seeds.
That's right.
And I mean, going along X-Men or Earth X mythology, the purpose there was to have mankind evolve so that they would be able to protect the planet because the planet was actually
it's an egg.
An egg,
yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, that's probably reading too much into it, but I think for this, I don't know if they're implying that mutant kind came from space or originated in space. It's interesting.
I think it's interesting.
My first impression was that they were just doing some kind of ritual to kind of put that guy's body into that armor or something.
I don't think it's armor. It looked like it was another body.
Yeah, kind
of.
And
if you're going the alien route, what alien are you using? Because they only have a limited number of alien species that I'm sure Fox can use that are related to the X-Men.
Like the Shi'ar? Or... Wait.
The Chitauri?
No, not the Chitauri.
Oh, the Shi'ar.
The Shi'ar. What did I say? Chi'ar?
You said Chi'ar. Oh, you just lost your Marvel card.
Lilandra and the Shi'ar. The three big alien races, the Kree, the Skull, and the Shi'ar.
Yeah, don't
Shut
shine.
up. I know my shit. I don't know why I said Shi'ar. I'm retarded. Sorry, everybody. I meant Shi'ar. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I think that would be dumb. I hope they don't go the alien route.
Because that almost makes it... Because, I mean... if aliens can bestow mutant powers, I guess that would go... I don't know. It could explain, how he's capable of, enhancing other mutants' powers. Apocalypse, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Which, in itself, is...
Well, real quick... Also, that would be too similar to what they're doing with the Inhumans right now in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they very explicitly state that Inhumans come from Kree genetic manipulation when Kree visited Earth thousands of years ago.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Anyway,
interesting.
So Apocalypse can enhance powers. That's why we see Storm able to travel through lightning. That's why...
Well, yeah, that's why we see Storm without her white hair, in the trailer.
Did she not have white hair?
Yeah.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, there's a scene in there, Apocalypse is, delivering some kind of line. He's, holding her face. She has dark hair.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
I'm sure they he upgrades her, and all of a sudden she has white hair, which begs the question: how does she get upgraded? I mean, we see how he upgrades Archangel because in the scene in the trailer where he's fighting Nightcrawler, and he has his normal bird wings.
Right. That's pretty. I like that fight because it's kind of like Angel versus Demon type themed fight.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But yeah, so he has his bird wings. Then later on, like Apocalypse gives him a face tattoo and some like metal wings, and so like there's that upgrade. But like we don't know like how does he upgrade Magneto? How does he upgrade Storm and Psylocke?
Well, I don't know how he upgrades them. There's probably some ritual or something. What I want to know is what Magneto's upgraded powers do.
Exactly.
What they look like.
Exactly. It's like he's already so powerful. Like in the movie before this, he's like lifting this huge ass like stadium, and then like
so he's like lifting the planet or something, and then like
and then
Archangels is like, oh, I'm gonna kill you with
metal feathers. It's like they're not even on the same level at all.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Storm is powerful.
It makes me wonder why he chose who he chose to be his horseman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Psylocke's look in this movie. I know there are a lot of fans who are like, "Oh, she looks too cosplay."
No,
I disagree. I mean, like, they're either gonna bitch about how they just bitch about everything. It's
well, we told them to. In the
that's true.
last podcast.
Darn it.
Don't bitch about costumes.
Yeah.
Well, or do. That's tricky. This is
do whatever you want. But basically, my gripe is that people are complaining that they complain about the black outfits, which I complain about too.
Right.
But then they do what looks to be a pretty faithful adaptation, and pretty good. I mean, it's not one for one, and that's good. I think it's a pretty solid Apocalypse Horseman interpretation of that costume. I think it looks really good. I think she's gonna be one of the. I'm looking forward to her the most in the movie, I think.
Yeah, me too, for sure. I always just like the idea of her power. She's like sort of like Wolverine, like he always has like these weapons on hand, like Shink.
Yeah.
But with Psylocke, it's like that, but she's energy.
She's a close, psychic energy. She's like a close range.
Is this psychic or telekinetic?
Both are. Telekinetic is psychic. You mean telepathic?
Well, I mean telepathic. Telepathic versus.
Well, she's had both in the comics. I remember she's a normal telepath. She used to be a normal telepath, but she is always using her psychic powers to keep the Shadow King at bay, who was a psychic bad guy. So she can only use, or she primarily uses her psychic abilities in close range quarters. So she will like manifest like a telepathic dagger kind of thing that she will stab you with, and it's like psychic pain as opposed to physical pain, so it's like non-lethal. She's pretty badass. But she's also had telekinetic blades, where it's like a blade that's just one molecule thick, and it looks like that's the kind of blade that she has in this.
Why? Oh,
because she
slices through the car. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool in that scene in this new trailer where she like spins around. She only has the one real sword in her hand, but as she spins around, she manifests the other blade, the psychic blade in her hand, and so all of a sudden she has two swords.
But she has the two swords even in the car splitting scene.
Oh yeah,
from the Super Bowl. And actually, that scene was in both the new trailer and the Super Bowl TV spot, right?
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. She's like a badass ninja.
I wonder if she starts off as like a telepath and then like Apocalypse
she gets upgraded
her into like a telekinetic, and that's why she has that sword or something.
I mean, yeah, I would buy that upgrade. The big question is Magneto and Storm.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see a Jean Grey Psylocke psychic fight in this?
I'd rather see that than a Professor X Psylocke psychic fight. Yeah, Jean Grey. I wonder if they're gonna call her Phoenix or just go with Jean Grey, because like her code name has always been kind of, I don't know.
I've always liked her code name to be Phoenix. After the whole Dark Phoenix saga, and she came back and she wore the green costume and was called Phoenix.
Yeah.
I don't think she'll be called Phoenix in this. I think she will.
So she's gonna be the only one without a code name.
I think they're gonna hint toward the whole Phoenix thing. I think we saw that in the first trailer. That they're gonna hint toward the Phoenix Force.
Oh, like her,
or not the Phoenix Force.
Dream.
Yeah, but the Phoenix entity inside of her or something. I think later on in the trailer we see Apocalypse like demolishing the city, and his powers look a lot like how they were portrayed in X-Men 3.
Yeah.
How Phoenix's powers were portrayed in X-Men 3.
I thought the same thing right when I saw that. That kind of bothered me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always thought that was a cool way to portray her powers when I saw X-Men 3, because it almost looked like she had, telekinetic abilities over the
like molecules and like at the molecular and atomic level.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I thought that was pretty badass. The fact that Apocalypse, I mean, I might be reading too much into what's going on here, but it looks awfully similar. So I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I don't know. I always preferred like her to have. I would have loved it if she had like fiery power, like because like in the comics, whenever they like portray her like telekinesis, like it's like this pink kind of fire.
That's my favorite. I think that's my favorite depiction of her powers in the comics. It's been portrayed a lot of different ways where it actually looks like fire and everything.
Yeah, I imagine. See, and I would have loved that for X-Men 3. In the new one, I'm sure they're just gonna like show her like moving stuff with her mind, like levitating it. It's probably not gonna be like It's probably not gonna be like Psylocke's blade,
right?
You know,
right.
Which it should be like that.
You think?
I think, but
I don't know.
And yeah, it just the depiction of her power. I can't believe how much I hated it in X-Men 3. It was just a terrible
Really?
movie. Yeah.
Why?
Because it wasn't anything to do with like Phoenix.
Right, that's true.
I mean, I don't know what Apocalypse's powers are going to be in this, but I mean, I do think like the whole like molecular like control makes more sense for him. But now that they did it this way, you don't make me think about that terrible movie. They're doing that, and that bothers me, especially because this is the third film in sort of like the new X-Men trilogy.
Yeah.
If you don't count any of the Wolverine films.
Well, I think the portrayal of Phoenix's powers in X-Men 3 was not even close to being the worst thing about that movie. But the fact that they're bringing it up again will make people think of X-Men 3, and I don't know. Or at least maybe me.
Or maybe just me.
Maybe just me.
Or probably no one else. It bothers me.
Yeah. So near the end of the trailer, we get a good look at Havoc using his powers.
Yeah.
And looks very similar to. I mean, it looks exactly how they portrayed it in X-Men First Class.
You definitely know that they're brothers. Him and Cyclops.
Well, I don't know if they're brothers. I mean, he's like 20 years older.
What?
Yeah. Because X-Men First Class took place in mid-1960s, which puts Havoc being born at like early 1950s. Because I assume he was like around 20 or late teens in that movie. And so Cyclops is like mid-teens in this movie, which makes him being born, and this is mid-80s. So Cyclops must have been born like around early 1970s. So which makes Havoc about 20 years older than Cyclops. So I don't know if they're brothers or if it's his dad.
Holy cow. Oh my gosh, they screwed themselves over so hard. Fox.
Yeah, I don't know.
With the timelines.
Yeah, because Havoc is supposed to be the younger brother of Cyclops.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the younger brother.
I mean, I guess it's possible to have it's definitely possible to have a 20-year difference between siblings. I know my wife's sister is 16 years older than her, so it's possible. It's just kind of weird for these characters in relation to how we typically know them.
They may have the same father.
Maybe. Well, what I'm thinking, I was just thinking, I hope, because...
Unless Havoc is the father.
Maybe. In X-Men First Class, they did a good job of portraying Havoc's blasts as plasma blasts, because, they would like set things on fire,
Yeah.
And and they definitely weren't force blasts in that movie. But Cyclops' optic blasts, they don't generate heat. They are purely force.
Right.
So the fact that they look so similar now that they're in the same movie, I'm wondering if audiences will be confused. Well, why are Havoc's blasts setting things on fires and Cyclops' blasts, just punching holes in things? I'm hoping...
We don't know that yet. I mean, they may be taking a cue from the X-Men Origins and still making it energy.
Fuck that. Nope, don't say that.
No, seriously, yeah.
They better not give Cyclops heat vision.
I will walk out of the theater.
I would be more accepting of all of a sudden Havoc's blasts not producing heat, because he's been known to like... okay, if I remember this correctly, when I first read about Havoc... Sometimes he would shoot out plasma, and sometimes it would be like a force blast.
Really?
But then I read later, it turns out that sometimes the objects that he would hit with his blasts, with his focus blast, would explode not because of the force, but because of the spontaneous heat generation. They would explode from the plasma heat. So, where was I going with that? Basically,
The difference between force and energy.
Basically, I would be fine with in the movie if
it was just force.
If it was just force.
He's just blasting it at Cerebro. It's like, what are you doing, dude?
I think it's. I think Apocalypse is attacking Professor X through Cerebro, so he's destroying it to save his
that makes total sense.
mentor.
That's probably a spoiler.
Oh, is it? Well, I think
it's speculation.
It's pretty
but
obvious, I think, looking at it, because like Professor X is like screaming while he's using Cerebro.
I didn't see that.
Pain. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it for that trailer.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what other news there was before we go into the review. There was the Wonder Woman photo.
Yes.
It was a photo from the Wonder Woman movie.
Right.
I think it was Entertainment Weekly released that photo. They released like all the photos.
Yeah, it's the one where it's the 4 Amazons.
Yeah.
On Themyscira,
I think. I'm sure it's Themyscira. It looks golden and just beautiful, and the photo is really beautiful.
Yeah, it's an island, so it looks like Paradise
It's
Island.
pretty cool. It reminds me of 300, just like the golden sky. And
it does look very 300. It looks very much unlike the other promotional material that we've seen, which has been all World War One.
It's been like cold, like a cold, like kind of
Yeah, like
Captain America. Yeah.
Yeah. Jinx. I hate it when we do that.
and maybe they're going like Themyscira is like this golden aesthetic, and then when she enters Man World, it's like cold and dark, and I don't know. Maybe.
Man, Connie Nielsen looks so.
She looks weird. She looks so weird in that photo.
I was gonna be a little bit nicer than that.
No, that was the first thing I saw. I was like, who the heck is that?
She does look different.
She has like a really strong jaw. Plastic surgery? I don't know.
It's Hippolyta. Yeah. I wonder if it's Photoshop or if it's plastic surgery or
Well, I'm sure there's Photoshop.
Maybe it's just the lighting in the photo.
You know, they're in the green screen. It's totally
totally
Photoshop.
She has blonde hair, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it looks like she has blonde hair.
Are you looking? Okay. Yeah, she almost looks like a Viking, huh? Like the others look Greek, but she looks kind of Vikingish.
She looks like queen of the Amazons. The photo looks awesome. Just badass warrior women.
Man, Diana has some killer boots, huh?
Who?
Diana.
Oh, she has a cooler, badass outfit.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty. It's an interesting look because usually I kind of think of like Wonder Woman kind of hanging out in her costume, in her normal Wonder Woman costume, like hanging around Themyscira. But it's cool that she, has kind of this alternate, like that's more of her battle suit,
Right. It's
as opposed to her everyday, what looks to be kind of like maybe her more traditional clothes that she wears.
Yeah.
When she's not in battle or something.
Plus, even if they changed, even if they gave her multiple costumes that she wears in battle, because in the photo she's still holding a sword and a shield, and it may just be her training outfit, but the idea that she has outfits, I think, is pretty appealing to women. I think it will be appealing to women.
Yeah.
And it allows them to do multiple action figure variations, more excuses to buy more Wonder Woman action figures for my daughter. So yeah, I love the look of it. I can't. It really makes me excited for the film. Robin Wright looks like a badass, and I like that they're all holding different weapons. They're all it's her little mini Amazonian Justice League. They'll have their
spear,
their specialties. Yeah.
The bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Sword.
I guess it's Queen Hippolyta and her 2 sisters.
Oh, really?
And all 3 of them have a different approach.
They all look very. It's another kind of whitewashing, though. It looks like kind of like. I think that's kind of why a lot of people didn't go see Gods of Egypt, is because it kind of looked kind of like a whitewashing of these characters who are supposed to be Egyptian.
Well, Greek. It's Greek. They're Greek. Was 300 whitewashing?
Yeah, but none of they all look very Northern European, or at least
Northern European.
At least Robin Wright looks very European. She doesn't look very Greek to me. She doesn't look very Mediterranean.
The only actress I don't know in the shot is the is the one to Diana's Gal Gadot's
The one on the
left.
far left. Yeah.
She looks like Mediterranean.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
And I mean, you can't exactly accuse of whitewashing when the actress playing Wonder Woman is straight up Mediterranean.
Well,
I mean,
no, she's from Israel.
that's right off the coast. Is that considered Mediterranean? I don't know. I think it is. That's why I said that.
It's around that area. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's weird.
That's right. It's on the far. It's the far east shore of the Mediterranean. That's right. Like below Turkey, right above Egypt. Yeah, that's right.
It's weird to saying it's whitewashed is I don't agree with it.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I do get kind of a Gods of Egypt vibe from this.
You shut your mouth. You know what you're talking about.
Clash of the
I get
Titans,
more of a 300.
300. That's
Definitely
good.
more 300.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, it should be a good film, I think. Do you think fans will finally shut up about Gal Gadot not being hot or not having boobs or something?
Yeah,
I know a lot of fans were complaining, "Oh, she can't be Wonder Woman. She doesn't have any boobs."
she brought that up in a Jimmy Kimmel interview. Did you
She
see
did.
that
I
interview?
did see that.
I know those things are like totally scripted and like it's like here's what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
She totally jumped the gun. I feel like on that. I was like, she's not used to like American talk shows, and I feel like down the road he was supposed to ask about like her breasts or something, but she was just like right away. Oh, what do you think of my breasts?
It was kind of out of left field because he was just talking about how he was a fan.
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh, you're a fan? What do you think of my boobs?" I would have been like,
I don't know. I'd have to see them. Show them.
I can't really make a decision until I see them. Yeah, I think she was. I think fans will shut up now that they've seen her in action.
Yeah, totally.
I think she had better acting in the Batman vs Superman film than I thought she would. Do you want to go into the Batman vs Superman review now?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get in.
About that time. I think we hit all
seriously
the other
dying
points.
to talk about it. So let's get into it.
We need a review jingle.
We do.
Kind of
Like, let's see. We have one for the Battlecast.
ready.
Now.
We're gonna freestyle it right now. Ready, go. It's time for a review, so you can get a clear view. While your underwear is see through. I don't know.
All right.
Can I get a redo? Because I'm being real, foo.
That's not bad.
No?
That's good.
That's pretty good.
I can do that. That's great.
All right, that was our jingle. Let's get into it.
Okay, I'll start us off. Okay, where to begin? Because there's so much to say. I guess I want to start off by saying,
What did you think of the movie overall, I guess?
well, no, like even before that though,
Okay.
like we often accuse each other of, I don't know, being fanboys to the extreme, where like we'll love something even though like
Oh, that's totally what you are.
it was even though like
You loved Green Lantern when it came out. You were like, oh, it was great.
no, okay, so here's the thing. It's not that, like, when I saw Green Lantern, like, there were parts that definitely disappointed me. But, like, I didn't want to spread that at the time because I wanted people to see it, because I wanted it to make money, because I wanted them to make more. Okay. I don't want critical reviews to stop studios from continuing to make films that I thought were good enough to continue. So the first time I've seen Batman v Superman twice now. Mm-hmm. First time was with you. Mm-hmm. Going into it, I really, really tried to have the correct expectations because I didn't want to be accused of fanboyism. I mean, the initial like Twitter reactions to the premiere were phenomenal.
Yeah.
People were like, they were in love with this movie and they were just raving about it. And there's so much good news. And I freaking thought I was going to die of excitement.
and then the critic reviews came out.
Okay, so then the next day, the embargo was lifted and the critical reviews came out and they just trashed the film. It's I think it's currently at 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. And so I got like super depressed because like I feel like I have so much at stake in the film. Not that like I made the film or anything like that, but just because
As a fan who wants to see more of these.
exactly.
You want it to do well.
Yeah. So, I told myself, okay, so the fans love it, the critics hate it. When I always argue about a film's merit, it's always I usually take the critical response.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, you're not going to be able to do that this time. Just go in, just watch the film. Just without like any expectations. Just go in and watch the film.
Yeah.
And so when I did that, the whole time I was thinking, oh, okay, so first of all, I did go in with expectations, even though I tried not to. And it was so different from what I expected that by the time the movie was over, I didn't know if I liked it or if I didn't. I knew I didn't love it, but I didn't know if I liked it or didn't like it. I was for sure thinking that you were going to shit all over it because we were around so many of our friends, and I was just like, I just want to go home, just take me home. But surprisingly, all of our friends that we went to go see it with, all of our coworkers, everyone pretty much liked the film with the exception of like one guy.
Who?
He's a coworker. I don't know if he's going to listen to the podcast.
My friends, I took, because I was there and I had a couple friends there as well, talking to them, they really liked it. And I myself really liked it. As far as expectations go, it met my expectations. It was pretty much exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Which is so weird. I was so shocked when I came out of the theater because I was so ready for you to start talking shit about it. And I was like, I'm not going to have any defense. Just take it like a man, Jonathan. Just take it right up the ass. I was like, okay, well, I guess that's not taking it like a man. That's not taking it like a man. Okay. I don't know. But just, whatever. So you came out and you liked it. And surprisingly, you liked it more than I did.
I did. Yeah, I did.
And I just remember, like, on the car ride home, we were just talking about the film, and I really, liked talking about the film. So much so, I don't know. Because there's so much to talk about. So much to talk about in this film. Mm-hmm. And, I even got into, a Facebook debate with someone on the internet. I didn't even like the movie that much. I just didn't like people, talking bad about it. Because it doesn't deserve all the critical hate that it's getting.
I definitely agree with that. I don't think it was deserving all the Twitter praise that it received either. When you first texted me, oh, look at the reception it's getting on Twitter. And I saw that, I'm like, okay, well, I think that's fanboyism. I'm not trusting that. The critical reviews came out, and I was shocked. I honestly was surprised.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. I saw the reviews, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to trust this either. I bet you that the movie lies somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. In between all the praise, in between all the criticisms. I'm betting that it lies somewhere in between. So that's where my expectations were set, and that's where they were met.
Yeah, again, and that's where I tried to be. Mm-hmm. But, okay, so, honestly, when I went to the movie... and
so maybe you were more devastated by the critical reviews than you think, since you went with such low expectations.
No, I didn't even go in with low expectations, because I figured I was going to like the film.
Uh-huh.
What I was trying to avoid was, I don't want to be, I'm going to go in liking the film no matter what.
Right.
I wanted to go in with realistic expectations. But then again, I thought, just based off the trailers and everything like that, it was going to be a very, run-of-the-mill, superhero film. I wasn't expecting the kind of film that we got, which was more along the lines, I don't even know what to compare it to.
I know what to compare it to. Because I was running through this when I was thinking about the film yesterday. I haven't seen it twice. I've only seen it once, but I've been thinking about the film. Trying to think about what I'm going to say during this podcast. And if I had to compare it to any film, I thought the tone was very David Fincher. And it kind of reminded me, the tone was very adult and mature, kind of like The Social Network and Gone Girl, although that may have been influenced by Ben Affleck's and Jesse Eisenberg's appearance in the film. But another Fincher film that it very much reminded me of was Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
It was very much more in that vein than a Marvel movie.
Yes.
And I was expecting a Marvel movie, honestly. I thought the studio was going to be
I think that's what most people are expecting, and that's why they're being disappointed.
It's absolutely what the critics were expecting. I have seen several reviews where they're like, oh, it's not fun like a Marvel movie, stick with Marvel. It's like, you motherfucker. It's like, a movie doesn't need to be fun to be good. And I keep,
Right.
I've said that to several people.
And yeah, those type of movies are some of my favorite movies, like Memento, The Departed, those really type serious films. While I absolutely enjoy a good romp, a good fun time at the movies, my favorite films tend to be those more serious toned ones.
It was cerebral.
Cerebral.
It was super cerebral.
It was.
Like, there, like, even seeing it the second time, like, I knew there was going to be stuff that, like, I caught that I didn't catch the first time.
Yeah.
Just because, like, there's so much to take in.
The narrative does not hold your hand at all.
Absolutely not. It was okay. It was trying to, like, you mentioned, like, David Fincher, and, like, I think, like, both David Fincher and Christopher Nolan sort of have, like, the same, like, they both, like, come from, like, a Michael Mann kind of Terrence Malick kind of like inspiration.
Yeah.
And so, like, and I think they'll say that themselves. But, like, in this film tried to do that as well.
Yeah.
And it definitely doesn't hold your hand. You definitely have to pay attention, just like, Christopher Nolan movie like Inception or something like that. The thing, though, is that it wasn't as digestible as a Christopher Nolan film.
No, it wasn't. And to say that it was similar to, I think it was trying to evoke a David Fincher, Christopher Nolan type tone. That is not to compare Zack Snyder to either of those directors.
Because he is so completely different.
Zack Snyder is, he's a technically proficient filmmaker. He has a very strong vision that I think he gets
Very
across.
strong vision.
But his movies are hollow. He lacks the ability to instill heart into his films, like true great filmmakers do. I don't know how to explain what that means, but I could feel it when I watch the movie. They are somewhat hollow.
So when I went to go see the film, we saw the film with
And Men of
with
Steel
you
suffered from the same thing.
and a bunch of coworkers. I made sure, and I told you this, I'm surrounding myself by haters and naysayers, because, like, I went to the movie with you, who doesn't like DC. I went to the film with someone who just, like, doesn't care about comic book films in general, and that's our younger brother Diego. I went with someone who doesn't know. He was essentially just, like, doubting whether the film was going to be good. That was my friend Rolly. Someone who hated Zack Snyder, who just hates his films in general. Maybe hates too strong of a word, but he really doesn't like his films. That was my friend Dan. So I was like, okay, make sure you're not going with over too high of expectations. You're surrounding yourself by all these haters. You're set to go. And one of my friend Dan, one of his criticisms of Zack Snyder is that he's not subtle. He is probably the least subtle, like, director on the planet. He kept referencing, like, the religious
Undertones of Men of Steel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't hate that about Zack Snyder.
Sometimes it works, and sometimes it
definitely felt it more in Man of Steel than in BVS than Man of Steel, but. And I forget where I was going with this. It was just commenting on Zack Snyder and his direction. He's not subtle. When he kind of needs to be, a sort of, like, for a film like that.
Yeah.
If you look at Christopher Nolan, super subtle.
Yes, I agree.
So
If I had to compare the film to a Marvel movie, did you ever see The Wolverine?
no,
Fantastic film. I think it was probably the truest depiction of the character that we've seen. The movie took itself super, super seriously. It was very mature, very adult. That kind of devolved into a cartoon, a CGI cartoon at the end when he fights Silver Samurai.
yeah.
That is exactly what this film did, I think. And you're right in the subtlety. Like, he's trying to make great film. I see that.
And he has all the elements there,
He
too.
he has all the elements. At the end, it did devolve into kind of a cartoon.
And that's something that Christopher Nolan's films never really did.
They never really did
You look
that.
at the end fight in The Dark Knight with the Joker, and even really against Bane. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was as much like a mental battle, especially with the Joker, like a psychological battle.
Right. And I'm not saying you can't have it both ways. I think you can have a super serious film that also deals with the fantastic. the fantastical. I just don't think that this was the right way to do it. And same goes for the Wolverine. I don't think that was the right way to do it. Like a good example, I think, would be maybe of the way to do it right would have been like maybe like X-Men First Class or something, because that didn't have a whole lot of. It wasn't as lighthearted as most Marvel movies, Marvel Studio movies. It was very serious, but it also had a lot of fantastical elements in it.
Yeah, and actually, I loved the ending to X-Men First Class. Still, the scene with the quarter going through the head is still like one of the most like mind blowing moments. I'm like, oh my gosh, so good. But no, so I saw the film again last night with my wife, because the first night we went, it was just the guys.
Yeah.
And then I had a date night with my wife last night to see it again, and I made sure going into it, okay, you've seen the film before, you know what the expectations are. This time, watch the film from a standpoint of finding the points, like finding what worked and what didn't work for you.
Huh.
And I was able to pinpoint that. I shouldn't say I loved it. I don't want to like speak in exaggeration here. I really liked the film the second time, to the point where I could honestly say I like the film. And I found out like what the element was that prevented me from loving the film, or like even knowing what I thought of it the first time. And really, it came down to the film trying to be two things at once. And it really, like, if you look at the title, it's half or more than half Batman v Superman, and then the Dawn of Justice part. So they were trying to do two things with this movie, and one of them was set up this really interesting Batman v Superman fight that introduced questions of really tough adult questions of like right versus wrong, and like the rights of power and stuff like that. But then it was also trying to like pay a fan service by introducing concepts that the fans or the general audience are really going to have no idea what they're seeing. And specifically, I'm talking about the nightmare sequence. If that
could have been gone,
it should have been gone.
It didn't make sense.
The film, because when I first saw the film, I was like, that didn't really like the plotting. I knew the plotting was off somewhere, so I was watching the film, like trying to like see like what scene sort of like breaks that, where is the narrative lost. And the movie, it was actually, when I saw it the second time, the plotting wise was made absolute sense. Before and after the nightmare sequence. It's that nightmare sequence and then like the flash scene that happens right. Okay. If we didn't say this before, spoilers. I'm sorry if we forgot to say that, but this is the review. This is a spoiler review. Okay, so sorry, going back. The nightmare sequence and the flash thing right after that. There were people in the theater who threw up their hands like, what? What did I just see? And I think it's that sequence. So that sequence specifically, and then later on in the film, when Wonder Woman is going through her email and she's looking through the different profiles.
Yeah.
That scene should have been a mid-credit scene. The nightmare sequence should have been a post-credit scene. If you would have done that, the film would have been so much better.
I think I agree with that. I mean, the narrative structure was weird enough as it is. It was like Man of Steel. It hopped from scene to scene with no transition and no connecting thread. So throughout the film, you already...
And I disagree. I thought that too, but actually wasn't...
It is true. There's no connecting thread. So you kind of have to... The audience, at the start of the next scene, you have to kind of like readjust yourself. You're like, okay, where am I in the film? And kind of, create those threads in your mind yourself. So you're already kind of having a hard time, at least I would assume general audiences are already kind of having a hard time figuring out what's going on from scene to scene.
But then when you have dream sequences, that does not help.
Yeah, you throw in something like that non-fans are just going to have no connection with.
Yeah.
It's going to really take them out. I don't know if they'll ever get back in quite the way they should. So
And the problem with dream sequences, like with any film, is that from that point forward, you can't exactly trust what you're seeing, because you don't know if that's
if they're gonna surprise you,
if someone's just gonna wake up and be like,
Right.
"Oh, what just happened? It didn't actually happen." So like later on in the film, when when he addresses, or when Clark Kent climbs the mountain, and I'm assuming he's like somewhere in the Arctic or something, and he's talking with his father. Like even that scene alone, I think would have worked if he didn't have the nightmare sequence before. I mean, I still think it should have been gone. It should have been cut because it's confusing.
It was like a hallucination or something.
Is he crazy? It brings up that question, like why are Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent like so haunted by their fathers, which itself is interesting. But again, the nightmare sequence ruins that. It ruined that film, that sequence. I think because I still think I still think you should have cut it again, but it could have worked without the nightmare sequence. Because again, I'm just questioning like what is the reality of this film?
Yeah.
You know?
Thankfully, those scenes though were short enough. Otherwise, they would have bogged the movie down more than they did. I mean, we're harping on those scenes, but overall, I mean, like I still feel like they didn't. I don't come away from the movie thinking about those scenes more than anything else.
They were really interesting scenes. I like, especially the second time I saw them. I enjoyed them.
Really?
A lot.
But I've heard a lot of people complaining, oh, Batman's shooting people all over the place. And I'm like, that wasn't real. I mean, he didn't actually kill anybody in this movie. You're talking about how he's mowing down people with, well, I mean, okay. He didn't kill him outright with a gun, like people are claiming that he did. And while he was depicted as doing that in that sequence didn't really happen. It wasn't real.
And so we don't know if it's a vision or if it's nightmare. We don't know if the Flash gave it to him somehow, or if the Flash knew that he was having that dream. It has to be a vision. You have parademons and you have Darkseid. Right. But how did he get that vision? How did this film doesn't answer those questions, and I think that's a big problem.
Yeah.
That being said, once we left the film, I was really surprised that my wife really liked the film.
It's a good film.
Yeah, I thought she wasn't going to like it at all. I thought she was going to think it was like really dark and just brutal, which it was. But
I wouldn't say brutal.
Batman is pretty brutal in the film.
I loved that fight.
It was great. It was great.
Isn't that fight fantastic?
It came later than I thought it was going to.
It did.
Like I was watching the film, I was like, "Where's the Batman fight from the trailer?" But yeah,
it didn't last too long. It was only I think it was probably less than 10 minutes. Yeah. But I love how it kind of went back and forth. Like Batman, Superman was right away put on the defensive with like the sonic guns and things like that, and then Superman attacks him, and then he finally gets blasted with the kryptonite smoke, and then Batman has the upper hand. And you're like, oh shit, it's going down, and then all of a sudden he punches him, and all of a sudden his glove breaks, so it's that back and forth, and then he sprays him again. I thought it was really I liked that fight a lot, actually.
It was a good fight. It held up. It really held up. And then even the subsequent fights after that, like Batman taking on the group of guys, then the Doomsday fight, all of those action scenes, it was like action scene after action. And they all held up. They were really good.
Yeah.
They were awesome to watch.
Yeah. Zack Snyder is really talented at directing action.
Really good. It's I remember in the commentary for Blade 2, because that's how nerdy we are. We listen to the commentary for Blade 2. Guillermo del Toro was commenting on Wesley Snipes' acting ability as Blade, and just the posing that he was doing. He was saying he could pause the film on any frame, and Wesley Snipes would be doing just a really cool comic book pose.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's sort of what Zack Snyder's action sequences are like. You could pause on any frame during the fight, and it'll be a really cool comic book panel.
He definitely ripped a lot of the frames from the comics, from The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, totally.
And
yeah,
I saw a lot of that in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of those moments. So since we're talking about the end, let's go ahead and jump back to the beginning and do this right, shall we?
Sure.
I think we have a good idea of what we thought about the film. Let's talk through the film.
Okay, so yeah, it opens up with the Bruce Wayne flashback, which itself I guess was a dream sequence. It was shot the opening scene. I saw Batman Begins a few days before. I saw both I rewatched Batman Begins and Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And the opening shot where he falls into the well and then he's like looking at the dark hole and the bats swarm him. I was like, oh, he's like redoing Christopher Nolan here. Except it was totally Zack Snyder and that the bats lifted him up
he started floating
into the sky. I was like, okay. I think Christopher Nolan did it better, but it was still an interesting scene.
Even prior to that, at the very start of the movie, actually, I didn't know the movie was starting. It kind of blew through the whole studio logos. I thought it went so fast, I thought we were looking at another trailer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait, the movie started? That's Ben Affleck's voice, right?
Yeah.
I thought the beginning credits, I liked how they include the credits at the beginning. Even the title card for the movie.
It wasn't anything special.
It wasn't anything special. That was subtle.
It was super subtle.
That was subtle.
Super subtle. Which is interesting. Because,
I
mean, like, I was actually surprised that they even did credits. Because, like, they haven't done credits for a DC Comics film since...
Superman Returns.
I'm trying to think of how that even started.
It was going through space. And it was... Superman Returns had an insanely long opening credits scene.
That's right.
It was, like, way too long.
That's right. Okay, so yeah, but yeah, like you look at some of the past, like none of the Christopher Nolan films had opening credits, and it's usually like the sign of a film that. I remember we learned this when we were in film club in high school. Like every time like a movie doesn't open with opening credits, the studio is essentially fined, because like I don't know, but they included him here, which I thought was interesting, and I guess they had a scene that was suited an opening credits scene just because like it was like there was no dialogue or anything like that really,
just narration.
Yeah,
I liked Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne.
I liked
his part was super smaller than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And the girl from
The
Walking Dead who played the mom, I thought the performances were pretty good.
So like, what did you think? What did you think of this? Because we've seen this scene done so many times, both like in live action and like cartoon form. What did you think? How do you think this compared to others?
I think my main takeaway. I think it was done as well. I compare them equally to like the scene in Batman Begins. I think these two scenes are better than what they did in the 90s with the first Batman movie.
Mm-hmm.
My big question mark for this opening scene was, did they make Joe Chill? Was he Arabic?
I don't know.
I think he was.
That's racist. Yeah, he definitely... Or, I mean, he could have been Indian.
Indian or Mexican or... All I know...
Ethnic.
Ethnic.
They made him ethnic.
I think it was a weird choice. What do you think of that? What did you think of that? I thought that was weird.
I don't know. I just wonder if it'll bother anyone.
It did bother me a little bit, actually.
I could see that.
Yeah. I didn't like that part.
But then again, it's not like as bad as like Alex Ross only making like the criminal scum in his comic books black.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know if you like in Kingdom Come, like in a few of his other works, whenever they like show criminals in Gotham, they're always black.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Or like most of them. Anyway, I thought the actress who played his mother, the chick from The Walking Dead, I don't know her name.
I don't know her name either.
So like the father's death I didn't think it was anything special, except he actually like made a fist and tried to fight back.
Yeah.
But the scene with the mother, where the gun pearls? Like goes up in between the pearls, I don't know. That was interesting. It was almost like sexual.
I didn't get that at all.
Just like a phallic gun, just like pointed up against like her.
I think they did that too as an interesting way to, because we all the classic mythology that the pearls break.
Yeah,
I think that was just an interesting way to do that.
It was interesting. Like I don't know what it was like. It was just shot like really well. Like when she like leans forward to like go after Thomas Wayne was shot, like the pearls, like you just see them like flip upward, and it's like, oh, the pearls.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's the pearls.
Yeah, I think it's a better way to, and like instead of Joe Chill or whoever that guy was.
Grabbing the pearls.
Yeah, grabbing the pearls, he kind of like lifted him up and said, "Give me these, or I'll shoot you in the head." It's a way to get both things across.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think I got any sexual anything from that. You freaking weirdo. But okay, so yeah,
maybe it was just beautifully shot. I don't know.
There's that word "beautiful" again.
I will cut you. Whatever.
Okay, so so it goes from that opening scene to the attack on Metropolis, which did a great job of kind of humanizing that whole thing.
That was your biggest gripe for Man of Steel.
That is my biggest gripe of Man of Steel, is that they were really callous toward the deaths of thousands of people. But seeing it from the ground level, and having them look up and then seeing them fly through the sky, it places so much, from that perspective, I think it places so much less blame on Superman. You're such a more passive viewer in this sense, whereas watching Man of Steel, you're more just watching Superman leap over thrown semi trucks instead of catching them or things like that, and you're seeing it looks like he's part of the destruction. But if you had never seen Man of Steel and you're just watching this movie, you're less inclined to blame Superman for what happened. I think they did a good job. Kind of.
Oh, I mean, Bruce Wayne blames him though.
Yeah, he does.
For sure.
Yeah,
which I thought was a great motivation. They really went into his motivation. They hammered it home, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that I think it was really cool. I think the music was really good in that when he was driving through the city, and I think I like how remembering all the moments that happened in Man of Steel, you see them replayed from a different perspective. I loved that scene.
It was great.
Good. I think it almost redeemed Man of Steel in my eyes. I know, and I know I say that until the next time that I see Man of Steel, and I'm just gonna be pissed off again.
Actually, no. Yeah, I've read a few responses to that. Even a few tweets where people were like, "Oh yeah, totally changes the way I view Man of Steel."
Until you see the movie again.
Nah.
So yeah, I think that was really well done. Love Batman's motivations. Clark's motivations, not as much.
They didn't delve into them as much as I thought they would. But I mean, they were.
It just seems like he just has a bone to pick.
He thinks he's holier than thou.
A little bit. He thinks it's a little hypocritical to blame someone for being a vigilante when you yourself are a vigilante, and essentially not any less violent than Batman is. Batman's freaking branding people, putting them in the hospital. But dude, so are you. Matter of fact, you may have even killed that terrorist, dude. So what the hell are you talking about?
Went through 2 walls.
Yeah, I don't know if he killed it. He said later on in that
he didn't kill anyone
sequence that he didn't kill anyone. It also begs the question why people would think Superman would kill people with bullets. I don't understand why they would think that.
That wasn't clear. It wasn't clear if they thought that he killed him with bullets. Zack Snyder has said that in the Ultimate cut, the rated R version that's coming out on Blu-ray, there's more to that scene.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah.
But that was kind of passed over much. It kind of felt like how a lot of certain things were passed over in this movie. I don't know if it was just the editing style or if something actually was cut. But
I would love to see more from that scene because it feels like such an integral part to the Lois Lane and Superman side of the story.
Right.
Because the general guy, he mentions it. Perry White mentions it. Everyone keeps bringing it up. They're talking about it on news broadcasts.
30 seconds.
And that we really didn't see. We only get the woman, the African woman testifying before the Senate committee about what transpired and the fallout from that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's if you'd missed that,
you're screwed.
You're screwed.
What did you think of Jimmy Olsen being the CIA agent? It's something that Zack Snyder said.
What?
Oh, you didn't hear that? The CIA agent guy, the undercover guy, the photographer, that's Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
And he was credited in the final credits as Jimmy Olsen.
Really?
The one they shot, yeah.
I did not hear that.
Yeah.
Or see that.
Yep.
Jimmy Olsen, CIA agent. And he's dead now.
Zack Snyder was talking about how they, mapped out these movies and didn't really find a place for character Jimmy Olsen. So they just figured that they'd make the CIA photographer guy Jimmy Olsen.
Well, he went out a hero, I guess.
The scene after that with Lois in the bathtub, I think she was wearing pasties, by the way.
Or they just, yeah, I was looking for that the
yeah.
second time. I was like, where's the nipple? Where is it? Is it there? Is there? We missed. Did we
Really
miss the
gross
first time?
water and pasties. That was, unfortunately, looking back on the film, that was really, I felt like that was Superman's only real character moment.
There was one more.
Oh, and maybe the one where he was on the mountain with his dad.
Well, like, no, even like, there's a scene where he's watching like all the news broadcasts from like Neil deGrasse Tyson and you know, all the where they're essentially saying, does there need to be a Superman? There's no dialogue in the scene, but
Just, but that's just reactionary. It's not. I wouldn't say it's character building. Like,
it pushes his story forward, his side of the story.
I guess. I feel like that scene with the bathtub, though, that was the only real scene we got to see Superman outside of the arc, kind of just having a nice character moment, like with the roses and making you dinner and even getting in the tub with her. And I thought that was nice. I wish there would have been more of those moments.
It showed his love for Lois, which is big later
a big
on.
part of the story, yeah. I think Batman had a lot of those moments with Alfred, and
Alfred cracked me up. He was funny. He's always like,
Jeremy Irons is great.
he was great. He's like, you know, not that there'll be a next generation. And then like later on, he's like, you know, you spend some time in Metropolis, maybe, you know, find a woman to make you honest. Like that'll ever happen. And I just thought that was funny. He's like, he wants grandkids or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he was great in the role. I think he might be my favorite Alfred just because of how hands-on he was.
Yeah.
He, you know, like Michael Goff in the first movies. Was that his name? Michael Goff?
Goff.
Something. He was just very butlery.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I like a more hands-on.
I mean, I got the sense that he was going to be like that, you know, just from the trailers and stuff like that. But yeah, it was cool. He was cool. It was a great take on the character.
Yeah, I loved his characterization. The Batcave was cool.
The Batcave was everything I've ever wanted to see in a Batcave.
It was so much better than the Batcave from the Nolan movies, better than the Batcave from the Burton movies because it was updated.
I agree. Yeah,
it was close to closer to the Burton movies.
Like how the Batmobile just like jumped into like the water opening.
Oh yeah, how cool was that?
That was awesome.
That was fantastic. It was better than the waterfall jump, I think, from Batman Begins.
Yeah,
I thought this was cool. I like the Bat computer was freaking awesome. What else was in there?
like even the screen when Alfred is downstairs or like down in the Batcave working on what was he working on, the Batmobile? But anyway, like it's when Bruce Wayne like reveals to him that the white Portuguese was a ship.
Oh yeah.
And you just see like those screens behind him with like all of his like tech like just like broken down and stuff like that. That was cool.
Wasn't it fantastic to see Batman as a detective?
Yes. I mean, we got hints of it in The Dark Knight with, like, the shattered bullet in the brick.
But that was bullshit.
But that was the only thing. Yeah, how do you get a fingerprint off of a shattered bullet from... I don't know.
From brick. That was dumb. Yeah, he was a scientist.
It wasn't dumb, but this was better.
It was dumb because you can't get you touch the casing of a bullet, you don't touch the bullet. Anyway,
Whatever.
Huh? But there are a lot of problems I have with Dark Knight that I absolutely did not have with this movie. I think this was by far, and a lot of people have said this is by far the best iteration of a live action Batman we've seen on film.
Yeah. I mean, even with the brutality. Even with, I mean, you look at games like Arkham, the Arkham series.
Yeah.
Like Arkham City, Arkham Knight.
I didn't think he was too brutal in this. I mean, he didn't kill anybody outside of the... Well, I mean...
He kills people.
He didn't kill anybody outside of... He kills by proxy.
Yeah.
Basically. It's like, oh, I'm going to punch you if you're holding a grenade. And if you drop the grenade, it's your own fault.
For
well, I'm going to come at you with my arms swinging. And if you walk into them, it's your own fault.
I think like even a better example is when he's in the Batplane and there's a guy shooting at the Batplane with on like the back of a truck with like this machine gun. And he shoots the truck, and the truck explodes, and the guy dies from the explosion.
I think that's acceptable. I think I think that's something that you can't really get away from, as a vigilante. You got to stop the guy from shooting at you. You shoot the truck. If he dies,
And
It's
yeah.
his own fault.
And even the best example is when like he at the end when he's saving Martha and he breaks through that wall, which was a badass scene.
Yeah.
He's just like poof, Batman breaks through the
It
wall.
was very Daniel Craig from Casino Royale type badass.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he runs. Remember the parkour guy leaps through the small opening in the wall.
Yeah.
And instead of doing that, he just plows through the drywall.
Oh jeez, that's cool.
But yeah, same type.
It reminded me of the video games actually because you could do that in the video games.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so he grabs the guy's gun and he's pointing a straight up gun. Batman's holding a gun, pointing at the guy. He doesn't do a headshot or anything like that. He shoots the guy's back like gas canister, and the guy essentially like lights his own gas canister on fire and blows himself up.
Yeah.
So it's sort of by proxy.
And Christian Bale did that in Batman Begins. He grabbed the guy's gun and shot the other guy in the foot and stuff.
Yeah.
So all the people complaining. I think there was another shot where Batman's up in the rafters and he has like this device.
He's disabling the guns.
He's disabling the guns. Like I think a lot of people are assuming that the sparks are coming from the bullet fire, but really it's the devices that he placed on the guns. He's activating his device that kind of that makes the guns explode.
Yeah.
So that's where the sparks are coming from. They're not coming from bullet fire.
Did they think he was shooting them?
I think people are thinking that he's mowing down people with guns, and I swear, I'm telling you, he does not do that. He does on the dream sequence. That didn't really happen.
It could happen in the future, but by that point,
we're expecting him to be a different character.
Yeah,
it looks like the type of environment where he may have had to make a few concessions in terms of his code and things like that. We don't know exactly
just to get out alive.
There. So, yeah, everybody needs to shut up about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I feel like Zack Snyder, he wants to pay tribute to the characters while also bringing them forward into the future, which is sort of like the thing with like even. I mean, and this happened in the comics, so it's not really like bringing them into the future. I guess in Man of Steel when Superman snapped Zod's neck, it's like, well, sometimes these actions need to be taken.
He did kill Zod in the comics.
Yeah, he did kill Zod in both Kryptonite. Yeah, but I mean, what's worse, poisoning a guy and letting him? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, he's bringing them into the future, making it more realistic as you could say the Christopher Nolan films were. Like in this film, when Batman gets stabbed in the shoulder with a knife, then he pulls out that knife and stabs that same guy in the shoulder, like disabling that guy's like knife arm. Mm-hmm. It was much more of like a militaristic approach as opposed to like a ninja approach, I thought, which is fine, I think. As much as I like Batman being a badass ninja, he also needs to, he's human. He needs to be able to take guys out.
Right. What did you think of the concept of the Bat brand itself? Because I thought it was cool.
It was new.
It was new.
I mean, okay, so it was new in that universe as well. Because even when Alfred, brings over the newspaper, is like, he was like, "Oh, bad branding now, huh?" And Ben Affleck was like, "Yep, pretty much. They're criminals. We're criminals. Whatever." I couldn't quite hear the line, but it was something that was he had just started doing. So
it kind of leaves the question as, how can you still mark yourself as an urban legend, kind of, if you're leaving this physical evidence? But I guess the same could be said for the physical evidence that you leave when you punch a dude in the mouth and break all his teeth.
Well, it's not. I mean, anyone could make a Bat brand. I guess it's not proof of anything. I don't think. Although I guess just contradicting what I said earlier about it being new, they also said on the newscast like right afterwards that that's a Bat brand in prison is like a death sentence. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's contradictory. Was it new? Was it not new? I don't know. Either way,
like, I didn't even think about that. That's just something that they probably missed. Lex Luthor. I will concede. I thought Jesse Eisenberg, from the moment that he was cast, from every single appearance that he had in the trailers, I thought he was going to be the worst part of this film. I did not like his casting. I thought it was a horrible choice.
Why? I never got that.
Yeah,
why?
Because he's so wimpy. I like,
who gives a shit?
I like.
He's not supposed to be buff.
Well, I think I like the idea of my Lex Luthor being physically intimidating as a type of guy who is trying to build himself toward perfection, much in the same way that Batman does because he has so much pride. That being said, I think it would have been a very different movie had they gone that route. I think, I mean, the movie already has two big, intimidating, opposing guys. I think the idea of having Lex Luthor as you know, like a smaller, kind of more almost under the radar, behind the scenes, super smart type of evil guy is a much better way to handle it in this particular movie. And he was very evil, and I think that was was a big selling point in that he's probably the most evil Lex Luthor that I've ever seen. That includes in the comic.
I agree.
That includes, you know, in the cartoon, in the other movies. I don't know about the comic books. I've seen him do some really evil shit in the comic books. But like killing Mercy,
he straight up like sacrificed Mercy.
Yeah, killing all those people in that hearing.
Did they ever name her?
And the way he did it, he made. Yeah, he does call her Mercy.
Okay.
He made her drink piss.
And that's like one of the biggest questions I have from the film. Did she like take a sip of the piss and then that's why she stopped? And I was like, what the fuck did I just drink?
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. He made her drink. It was so goddamn evil. It was great. It was really good.
Yeah, he totally messed up Superman big time in that scene. Superman's just like surrounded by all these dead people. And it's like there's nothing you could do. You didn't see it coming.
Yeah. Now, he was slightly eccentric. I know some people are complaining that he's a little quirky and maybe acts like the Joker. I didn't get a Joker vibe from it at all.
No,
he is quirky. I think he is acting like a non-social, an individual with antisocial tendencies. I think for the most part he played it as real, as I would imagine that version of Lex Luthor would be.
And you know, he played it pretty straight up until a point, like the opening scene with him where he's in his basketball court. There's a scene, he played it straight up until the point where it was like, we're gonna have to depend on the kindness of strangers. He did an accent. I was like...
That scene... Okay, so that scene annoyed me, actually. And it was kind of like reaffirming my preconceived notion that he was going to be the worst part of this movie. I was like, ugh. But it wasn't until the later scene. I think that it was his next scene that sold me. And I think it was the one where he fed the Jolly Rancher to that guy. Was that his next scene?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. And even the following scene, the scene that he had with
the Senator Finch. His dad's room.
Yeah.
That was a good scene.
And if you would have told me that he was kind of slightly buzzed, I think, during that scene, or slightly drunk, he had been drinking. So if you would have rationalized, because I hated the line where he says the Red Capes are coming, I was like, what the hell is that? If you would have told me, that
I remember
he was toying with her, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. It was without context, and I think that's why I judged it so harshly.
I remember I think hated that part.
Yeah, when you see it in context, it works. It does.
That was a great scene. That was a really great scene. I thought Holly Hunter was just as powerful, I guess, in that scene.
She was good. I thought her character was going to be much more of a pawn than she ended up being.
Yeah, me too.
I like how she kind of saw through his bullshit a little bit.
Yeah.
And, I mean, she was a pawn in the very end, you know?
And then she had to die for it. And she saw through his bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
I was getting into a Facebook debate over Lex Luthor, after I saw the movie the first time, just because, you know, even after the first showing, I thought I really liked Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal as Lex Luthor. I thought it actually did remind me of Heath Ledger's Joker. Just in terms of, and maybe it was just like the blowing up of the Capitol building, which, holy fuck, he blew up the Capitol building?
Yeah.
That was crazy to me. It was like you take Joker blowing up the hospital, an empty hospital, an evacuated hospital. It's like, that's pretty bad. Okay. The fucking Capitol building with a whole bunch of people there.
Yeah.
And Superman's just like, the scene of him afterward, just in the smoldering wreck, looking like he wanted to cry. Ugh.
Yeah, that's
so good.
I feel like they should have touched more upon exactly how he felt. Like, I mean, I know he exiled himself and everything, but I feel like that would have been a good character moment too. if he would have talked about it a little bit, maybe.
Well, he kind of sort of talked about it with Lois Lane.
Oh yeah, out on the balcony.
On the balcony, yeah. But it was like, it was very much, just going back to what I was saying about earlier about Zack Snyder bringing them into the current day. It was like, it was very much like Superman in our current world. And that's what I appreciated. Like, even like when he was talking about morality, like, oh, the press has to stand up when the police can't do it. We have to take on the Batman. And Perry White was like, you don't have any kind of like moral high ground here. This isn't 1938. I cracked up at that line.
Oh yeah, because that's when he came around.
Yeah, that's when it was just kind of
Action
saying
Comics.
like the black and white version of good and bad Superman, like what's good and what's bad. Like, it doesn't exactly work in this like post 9/11 kind of world. And I think I don't I thought that was interesting. I don't think other people really like that idea of bringing Superman into like this sort of like post 9/11 world, just because
Yeah.
like
Yeah, a lot of people want to see like the Superman cartoon, that version of him just brought into a movie, but that does not work in this type of setting. The reason animated Superman works in the animated cartoon is because of the world that he exists in.
Yeah.
This is very much the real world.
Yeah.
There is no black and white. It's all shades of gray.
yeah, totally.
So
So, but just going back to Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg's take, it reminded me of the Joker. He's super evil as fuck, like the most evil. Like, who else has done that? Not even the Joker has done that. I think it's the closest take that we've seen to Lex Luthor since Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor in Smallville.
yeah.
But even then, like, no other like previous cinematic Lex Luthor has accomplished what this Lex Luthor has. I mean, like in the previous, like the real estate schemers in like the previous films that like Kevin Spacey and Gene Hackman, they sort of shared that same character.
Mm-hmm.
He would not have been capable of turning sort of pulling the strings of both Superman and Batman, and like distorting Kryptonian technology to create Doomsday, and blowing up the Capitol building, and doing all these crazy, evil, twisted things that he did in the film. Very ambitious.
Yeah.
Like the most ambitious like comic book villain in the history of comic book films. Like next to the Joker, I think. Really, really great take on it, and it just kills me that people didn't like his character.
And coming from the person who wanted and expected to like his character the least, to almost hate his character, I don't understand why they wouldn't. I think it was done really well. So I was really impressed by it. You know who I was not as impressed by?
Who?
Wonder Woman. I mean, I liked her in the film. I feel like people are going pretty crazy. I mean, they thought she was like one of the better parts of the film. I think she did not have enough screen time in the film to warrant that type of reaction. I think I didn't get a huge impression of her, and while I think she was good in what she had, I didn't think she was like the best part of the film.
Yeah, I liked what they did with her character. I liked that. I didn't necessarily think she was like the best actress. I'm glad she's Wonder Woman. I'm glad Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman. But I don't know. Zack Snyder has this thing with Israeli women, casting them in his films. Like Lara from Man of Steel, Superman's Kryptonian mother. She was Israeli.
That's just a coincidence.
But then, what was her? Feora?
Oh yeah, Feora. Yeah,
she was an Israeli model. Now Gal Gadot is an Israeli model. It's interesting.
That country produces some very beautiful women.
Yes. I thought she was. She definitely had. I don't know if she had like the best scenes. People definitely cheered in the theater, like when she first had her like Doomsday double bracelet block. I was like, yeah. When I was cheering, I was like, yeah, that was awesome. It's like, well, I've always wanted to see that.
Her block something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so
That
cool.
was pretty sweet.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, she's definitely the weakest actress of like the Trinity, weakest actor of the Trinity.
I thought her acting was fine. I think I was maybe distracted by her sense of fashion. She had some pretty strange clothes on, I think, when
What?
she was Diana Prince. Did you not see that? I don't know.
Strange?
Yeah, it was very kind of postmodern type of high style.
She is a model.
It's very artistic.
Well, in real life.
In real life, yeah. I don't know. It was like there was like a weird. It was like an asymmetrical back with like she had one.
Oh,
sleeve.
her white outfit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like well, both of them were kind of.
That bothered you?
It didn't bother. Well, I guess I don't know what I was expecting her to wear. I was just kind of like I don't know what my reaction was. It's very
Joseph-
it's very artsy. It's very artsy. I didn't know Diana Prince was gonna be that artsy. I'm not complaining about it. I guess it was interesting to me.
I'm definitely interested in seeing more of the character.
It makes me wonder.
Sort of like seeing how she ended up in like high culture, I guess, and like how did she go from Themyscira to that? I guess
What do you think she wears when she's just lounging around the house? Does she wear yoga pants?
never.
I don't know. I don't know. I just had to raise that question for me. That intro that you mentioned where she did the block when Batman was like, "Oh shit," and then he's about to die, and then she blocks it. That was one of the best reveals I think of any superhero ever. I thought it was so awesome, and I thought the new power they kind of gave her, where she bangs her gauntlets together and it creates a shockwave. It kind of reminded me of Thor's hammer against Cap Shield. I told you they were gonna do that.
But it wasn't like the. In the trailer, it made it look like she banged her gauntlets together, and there was like it was the Doomsday sort of like red electricity.
That's
energy.
not what I was referring to. I wasn't saying she was banging them together and creating a orange shockwave, because you can see that when she bangs them together, there's a bright light and a big force that kind of expands from them. So, yeah, man, that was such a good fight.
She was so good in all of the action scenes, from like her chopping off Doomsday's hand to like using the lasso. It's like it's the fucking lasso! Oh my gosh!
I love how Doomsday, you could see him evolving to the fight as they were hurting him.
Yeah.
Like she'd chop off the hand, he'd grow a new one, and it would come back with even bigger spikes. I thought the version of Doomsday that we saw in the second trailer was going to be the version that we were going to get. I didn't know he was going to keep evolving from that to see him get more of that Doomsday look toward the end of the fight. I thought that was fantastic.
I figured they were gonna do that. I thought that's what I thought they were gonna do. But no, so there was the first time we saw the film on the drive home. You were saying that you thought they had the order mixed up with the final blow to Doomsday, where like Wonder Woman has him lassoed and then Batman gasses him,
Which
and then
is
Superman
noise.
spears him.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that the second time I saw it. You're completely wrong,
I am.
because Doomsday was moving around so much. Batman couldn't gas him. Batman was just trying to run away from Doomsday because Doomsday kept attacking him, and Wonder Woman was just trying to like distract him, like cut off his arm and stuff like that. So like he wasn't staying still long enough for Batman to like get a good shot to gas him,
But he did.
because he was.
But Batman's a good enough shot, I think.
It wasn't a bullet. It was more like a grenade launcher.
Yeah, but I mean, it's gas. You don't have to be a marksman with gas.
He had one shot.
I think it would have been better if Batman, if they set it up, because he was already restrained. Superman would have been able to kill Doomsday even if Batman didn't shoot him with the kryptonite gas.
Well, here's the thing too. Like if Batman would have shot him with the kryptonite gas first, and then Wonder Woman would have snared him, there would have been no point in snaring him, because he would have already been subdued.
I guess. I don't know. I did like how they kind of showed that they were a good team at the end.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty good.
So I mean, yeah. So we got into the Doomsday fight, but what do you think of like the well? I guess we also talked about that.
Well, what did you think of the fight in terms of how it was set up? Like we know why Batman was going after Superman. I did not know that they were going to kidnap Martha Kent, and then he was essentially blackmailed.
That was essentially his motivation for the fight. I mean, as much as like earlier when he threatened him, like the Bat is dead and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't ready to like go toe to toe with him.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like he was forced to, and even then, I was talking with my friend Arcus at the end of the first time we saw the film, and he was talking about like how Superman just kind of was like, "Hey, come on, you have to listen to me." just. And then Ben was like, I know all about you. And so I was just like, oh, fuck this. And just shoves him. It was like, dude, you okay. I mean, they could have gotten around that. I wouldn't be surprised if, like when the How It Should Have Ended comes out, if they don't touch on something like that.
Or they just talk it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like Batman, it kind of annoyed me that Batman just wasn't willing to talk. He was just... And it also disturbed me that he was willing to kill Superman, but like he was utterly convinced and convicted that this was the best thing to do for the world. So what was kind of weird was that he stopped just because their mother has the same name. I mean, it's enough to throw him off, and Batman's parents, it's the whole reason he does what he does, and so he seemed a little bit more affected by it than you would assume, given his conviction.
I didn't see that coming at all, but it's something I've always thought, like, oh, that's interesting. They have the same mother's name. Like, I've always thought that their mothers have the same name.
Mm-hmm.
So once they did it, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Right when he heard Martha's name, I was like, that's how this ends.
So I guess it made him remind of when his dad died and his last words were Martha. Well, so him saying Martha kind of brought back the flashbacks.
It made him relate to him, I guess, in a way. Like, they have something in common. Or, I mean, he didn't know it was his mother's name at the time, but, like...
I wonder if he thought he was mocking him, maybe? I wonder if he thought he was mocking him.
Maybe.
Like, he was
like, why did you say that name?
Yeah, you're doing the exact same thing my dad did right before he died. So I wonder if he thought if he was mocking him or something. Maybe that threw him back, and then Lois Lane, came in and saved the day.
The fight was shorter than I thought it was going to be.
It was shorter. I bet you the extended version is longer. I would have liked to have seen it go longer. Right.
Yeah.
Although, if you really think about it, a Superman-Batman fight can only last so long, in reality.
I don't know. I think
unless Batman's on the run for a lot of it.
You have to take it further and further and further and further.
I guess you can make the kryptonite effect last longer, and that will extend the fight. But, Batman's hitting to kill, and Superman's so strong that his hits will kill. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was definitely a good enough length to be impressive. I would like to slow-mo that fight and watch it frame by frame and just see all the cool stuff that they did with it.
Uh-huh.
I think Ben Affleck's reactions in the armor were priceless. Like when he's beating up on him and then he hits him and he the kryptonite's wearing off and then he's just like, all right, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
And then he gets plowed through the floor. But he did really well. I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. I still don't... I mean, it was brutal. There's no way I could show my daughter this movie. Which is kind of unfortunate because I want her to love the characters. Like, I want her to, as much as I do. But and I think that's going to hurt the box office. I mean, it's doing really well right now, but...
It will have a smaller ceiling than we think it will. Or, I mean, than we want it to be. I think, this is going to sound dumb, but not unexpected. My wife said that her niece's friend was on Facebook, just got done seeing the movie, and she was like, that was the worst movie ever. And I think, it's again, people going in expecting Marvel movies. I'm not expecting, teenage girls to love this movie. They're not going to. And in order to get that high box office ceiling, you need to appeal to all demographics. This will not do that. Absolutely not. Yeah, I agree. What do you think about that? I mean, I think it'll be enough to warrant a sequel.
It has to. They're shooting in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, okay, so after the bad reviews started coming in, they released the Wonder Woman photo, which I thought was great. It made me feel so much more happy that Warner Brothers would do something like that just to show they still have faith in the franchise despite the critics' response. And
Suicide Squad is coming out. I will be surprised though that if I'll be surprised if they don't make slight tweaks to the tone of the Justice League film. I'm
sure they will, and I think they've already established that they're going to, just because they're actually going to have comic relief in the Flash, and they've said that he'll be playing that kind of role.
Yeah.
So
well, that's good. I think it was a good start. It may not be what exactly everybody wants, but I thought it was a good film. I'm looking forward to what they're coming out with next. I know that they're gonna be able to correct themselves.
Yeah.
And right the wrong. So I think we have a successful launch here.
What did you think? Okay, just talking about that launch. What did you think of the allusions to the other characters?
I thought okay, so let's see. Aquaman, I thought was mugging for the camera.
What?
Yeah, when they showed him, like it was cool to see his eyes.
Those eyes were really close. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
His eyes would glow because he sees in the dark. He's like a freaking leopard.
Yeah. And then he like comes out of the shadows and like he like looks at the camera and then like you think he's gonna do something and he kind of like floats there for like maybe like 10 seconds too long and then he does something. Like you would think that he wouldn't just kind of it was almost like he was admiring his reflection or something. I don't know what the hell he was doing.
I just think he didn't like know what that was, what he was looking at. It was like he was like almost curious. I got that.
He's half man. He should know, right?
Yes.
Is he all full Atlantean in the DCEU?
I mean, that's a good question. I'm sure they'll stick with the mythology from the comics and make him like half
a hybrid.
Right?
Yeah.
He has blonde hair. He's gonna have blonde hair in the movie.
He didn't have blonde hair in Batman vs Superman. It was dark.
It was dark. It was like black night vision. So it was hard to tell. But it will be blonde in the new movie, and also the Flash is not gonna have the weird beard haircut thing.
The scruff and the ponytail.
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna make Ezra Miller clean cut for the role of Barry Allen, so I was super surprised when he showed up in the time travel scene, with his scruff.
Yeah.
And also at the convenience store, the security camera footage, he had his ponytail and his mustache and beard thing. I was surprised by that. I was like, oh, so they're kind of retaining his hippie look for Barry Allen?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just to differentiate him from Grant Gustinson and what they're doing on the TV show. But, I wish they wouldn't have done that.
It looks like they're changing it up for the Justice League movie.
Yeah, if you look at his look now and, like, photos from, like, the premieres of Batman v Superman and stuff like that, he has and he's been working out, too.
He's put on some muscle mass.
Yeah, so that's encouraging.
Because the dude is pretty scrawny.
Yeah.
But
what did you... that scene... Ugh. Still so interesting.
What
so
scene?
many interesting things about this movie.
The cyborg scene?
No, not the cyborg scene. The Flash scene after the nightmare sequence.
Oh,
where he's coming to warn Batman, and he says like,
Lois Lane
is the key. You were right, like about him, or not to trust him, or something like that. And then he was like, "Am I too early?" Yeah,
they're either going to go down the route of Kingdom Come or the route of Injustice.
Which I explained to my friend Rolly earlier when we were like in the first podcast episode when I was saying my favorite DC stories. One of them is Kingdom Come, one of them is Injustice. And you were like,
Lois Lane is dead in both of those.
Yeah, I forgot to make that connection for the listeners. Is that in both stories, Lois Lane dies, and that's sort of like the like in one direction. Like Superman can react one way and you get Injustice, and Superman can react another way and you get Kingdom Come. So it seems like they're going the Injustice route, just with like that like little tease that they did, which again should have been freaking at the end. If that was a post credits thing, the movie critics would have liked the movie more, and people would have liked the post credits scene because there were people who stayed afterward.
Yeah, I did.
And then they were like, ah, right when the movie ended and there was no post credits thing. It's like, who cares if it's Marvel thing? Just do it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that was the Flash, and his costume it was high tech.
His costume was high tech, but I'm thinking that since he didn't have his costume on, I remember earlier on in an earlier podcast we hypothesized that maybe it's the costume that harnesses the Speed Force that allows him to run. But in the convenience store, he was able to be fast without any sort of gear on. So I'm wondering if, since in the comics he relies on the use of tech to time travel, he has his cosmic treadmill.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this tech suit, the suit of armor,
it's a cosmic suit instead of a treadmill.
Yeah, instead of a treadmill, it's like a cosmic suit because a treadmill wouldn't make sense for a story, I don't think. So I'm thinking that the whole suit of armor thing that you were talking about, That's just his time traveling suit. And he'll have a different suit on underneath that is, turn off your phone, man.
Sorry.
That is probably made out of Speed Force and stuff.
They definitely have a plan, you know. Writer Chris Terrio, the one who wrote this film, he was saying that he sort of sees this as like the second part of a trilogy. Man of Steel being the first one, and then this being the second, and then them leading into Justice League.
But Justice League is a two-parter.
I don't know if it's going to be, because he may not be writing the next one. It might just be Justice League 2. I don't think it's going to be part 2. Okay. I don't think they're splitting it into two, the one story into two parts.
Okay.
I don't think that's what it's going to be. Because they also have 2 films in the middle of it. So, and I think I mentioned this before. Like, they have Aquaman or something like that. But anyway. But it definitely looks like, you know, their Darkseid will be the villain. Everything from Jesse Eisenberg sort of like ringing the bell, ding, 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 which I'm assuming he got from like the Kryptonian archives when he was talking to the Kryptonian computer.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't even think about that.
How else could he have known? I think he studied that.
He did
a
say,
lot.
"Tell me everything." So.
Yeah. So and then, you know, the Omega symbol, the Parademons, which were badass. I like the Parademons. I like the look of them. I can't wait to see Zack Snyder's look for Darkseid.
Because I hope it doesn't look too much like Thanos.
I guarantee you it's going to look way more badass than Thanos, because Thanos looks like a little purple bitch compared to what Darkseid's going to look like, I'm sure.
I'm sure Darkseid won't be killing half the universe like Thanos does, though.
Yeah, I'm sure that no one cares, because Thanos is a chump.
No, he's badass. Especially as Josh Brolin.
The cinematic version of Darkseid is going to beat the shit out of the cinematic version.
He'll have more of an
Thanos.
armored look, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm really looking forward to seeing...
But he'll look like Stone or something. Like a stone man.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to seeing?
And I guess that maybe we won't see that, because we've already sort of seen it with Doomsday, when they're like both firing their heat vision at each other at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And,
like an Omega Blast against heat vision?
Which, I mean, I guess I never really liked, because like...
Omega Blast is way more powerful than
heat vision.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why I thought of that.
Wait, what did you think of Cyborg?
Oh,
his logo looks like the Colorado flag. So much so that like when she first brought up the list, I saw the lightning bolt, and then I saw the Colorado flag, and then I was like, what does Colorado have to do with this? Do they have a base in Colorado or something?
That was interesting. I love the idea of the guy who created Skynet also being Cyborg's
That's true.
Cyborg's
What was
father.
that actor? Yeah, from Terminator 2.
I don't know his name.
I don't know the actor's name, no.
But I was like, oh, perfectly cast Silas Stone, Victor Stone's father, the scientist who turned his son into a cyborg.
So it looks like they're going the route. No, he has different origins. One of the origins being, I think it was in one of the animated movies, that his body is actually technology from Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So that was a mother box, yes?
Was it? It wasn't. It was totally mother box.
If it wasn't a mother box, I don't know what it could be.
It had to have been a mother box.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting take on a mother box.
Yeah, it looked very... I don't know even how to explain it.
It didn't look Jack Kirby-ish at all.
No, it didn't. No, not like the Tesseract from the Avengers. It looked... I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It was very techy. It looked much more techy.
Alien.
Yeah.
And then that built his body, and that was interesting. So I wonder how much more of that story we're gonna see. Because his body was never composed or built from a mother box. Like he had one integrated into him. So he create boom tubes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's the base of it, like it built like the skeletal structure of his body essentially.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It was interesting.
We'll see what they do with that.
Yeah.
Who else was on that? I think that was it. That's everybody.
Those were the 3. No Hal Jordan, but they did have Carol
Ferris.
It turns out she's the chick from Man of Steel who said, "I just think he's hot." That's
she's too short to be Carol Ferris, isn't it? She only looks yay big, and I'm holding my hand like barely off the ground.
We were expecting Blake Lively.
I don't know what I was expecting.
I think it's interesting that they're like retconning some stuff to be like, oh, you didn't know this in Man of Steel, but actually this.
It does make Man of Steel a little bit better. It's
does.
still not as good as this movie.
So you liked Batman v Superman more than Man of Steel.
Yes. Yeah.
This is sort of like a great continuation story for Superman after Man of Steel. Like, I mean, it's the death of Superman in a sense.
Oh yeah. I completely spaced that. I have that in my notes, and we forgot to talk about that. I like the idea. I know. I think I heard a few people complaining that they blew their wad with. That's not. I hate that metaphor. They kind of did it too early. They kind of did the death of Superman too early. I don't think they did. I think Superman can still die again, and you could have a situation where he's even in more duress and even has greater injuries, and that's something that he can't come back from. So I don't think I think the stakes are still there. I like the fact that they kept him dead by the time of the end credits, even though they really hinted at it by the dirt rising.
It was so subtle. It was like Magneto tilting the chess piece at the end of
X-Men.
And we didn't even learn the results of that until Days of Future Past.
Right. But yeah, I think I'm glad that they didn't show his triumphant return at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Because it didn't take away from his sacrifice that he made.
Yeah, totally.
And I think narratively it made sense for him to do that in this film.
Yeah.
To kind of prove to the world that he's not this bad guy that you think he is, that he is very selfless.
It was very much appropriate. I guess it was appropriate. Some people may not think so. That this film was released on Good Friday.
Oh, jeez. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, on Sunday they're going to be like, hey, guess what, everybody? He's not dead.
And then alive. People liked him. Yeah. So, at least in movie universe.
So, yeah.
He kind of died twice in the film. After the nuclear blast.
I take the kind of weird, skinny, skeletal white look.
Almost like Bizarro.
As kind of depowered more than dead. He wasn't dead. He was just really weak. And then it was able to come back to health through the sun. Although, you know what? Being buried in a box, how is he coming back? I don't... he's not exposed to the sun.
In the comic, he went to when he was killed by Doomsday in the comic, he went to a coma type state. Mm-hmm. And it was his body just shut down all of his systems so that he could heal. And he didn't heal right away. It took him a long time to heal.
Yeah, my friend Sean was talking about how didn't Superman come back to life at the end of the Death of Superman comic that series? And I'm like, no, he didn't.
No,
he did not, because he had a whole
the reign of the Superman.
But maybe he's referring to the cartoon or something. So yeah, Reign of the Superman. Do you think we'll see Steel come back?
Shaquille O'Neal reprise his role. Yeah,
probably not. It did make me think though. Now that you just said that, how come Zod isn't able to come back to life? Superman snaps his neck, but why couldn't he go into a cocoon state or something?
That's a good question.
Either way, I guess it's too late now because he was the Abomination, or maybe Abomination can come back to life. I don't know. He was just stabbed with kryptonite. I don't.
You keep saying Abomination. It's Doomsday.
You know what? And I wasn't even one of those people that thought he looked like Abomination from the trailer. I know a lot of people said that. I didn't quite think that.
Doomsday whole thing is that he's able to come back. So I mean, he came back in the comic. I don't think they would bring him back.
I don't think so.
In the films.
They better have a pretty damn good rationalization of
the comics he didn't die with
Superman
kryptonite. So,
that's
maybe kryptonite's the thing. Zod should have been able to come back.
Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, he can't now, obviously, but I was saying, hopefully, I hope they have a damn good rationalization for bringing Superman back.
And I hope they don't bring him back right away.
Yeah, let it be halfway through Justice League, after the team forms or something like that.
Let Batman and Wonder Woman form the Justice League, and then Superman make this triumphant, maybe not necessarily Deus Ex Machina, but let it
cavalry.
Be big. Let it be really a really big return.
Like how I hope Captain America comes back in the Infinity War.
If he dies at the end of Civil
War.
We don't know. Spoiler.
Alrighty then. So should we go into final ratings?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So I'm gonna give us the same one as Deadpool. I don't think it was perfect. I think it was better than just okay though. I think I'll give it 4 out of 5 Infinity Gems, even though there are 6 Infinity Gems. Should we come up with a better rating than that?
I don't know. This is fine for now. I would. I think I would give this. We don't do decimals, right? We don't do halves. We just do straight up, like full.
Well, I can't chop an Infinity Stone in half, so
I can. I will.
it's up to you.
You know, I'm gonna give it the. If you asked me that after the first time I saw the film, I would have gone a solid 3.
Yeah. Wow.
Solid 3 power lanterns out of 7 power lanterns. No, well, there's 7 power lanterns, but 3 out of 5 power lanterns. But after seeing it the second time, I appreciated it so much more. I still think that there were things they could have cut, but I think if you had done that, you know, in the last podcast when we were explaining what we thought, like how we rate films, how we and you were saying like if you could picture a better version of that film in your mind,
That's what I compare it to.
yeah. And I was saying like what I thought its intentions were essentially. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It did meet its intentions, I think, in the fact that like it was trying to set up this universe, and I think it did that. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
But I also, you know, in the like the debate of intention versus interpretation, I definitely think that the film is being misinterpreted by critics unfairly, and without the you know the knowledge of being a fan, knowing what like the nightmare sequence was and what that was alluding to and all these different things, it's disappointing. But anyway, to my review.
Anyway, yeah, what do you rate the movie?
4 power lanterns out of 5.
Okay. Yeah, I think in the version in my head, it doesn't. I mean, this movie doesn't get a 5 because in the version in my head, it's a more cohesive, coherent story with connecting threads as transitions in the narrative. I mean,
That's the only drawback.
The last act of the movie was pretty much in real time, so I think it was the best in terms of storytelling. In the version in my head, also I would have lightened up the tone just by a hair or two, but other than that, I think it was pretty close to how good it could have been, this particular movie.
Yeah, when in the car ride home again, after the first time I saw it, I was trying to think of like how do you tell the story differently, and like you know, and there wasn't much it was a great story that they told, and they had all the elements there. They had great acting. I thought the direction was great. I'm not a Zack Snyder hater, so you know, it had all these different things going for it, and I think just like the flaws that it does have, yeah, I agree, prevents it from being a perfect film, but I think it still deserves 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, I agree.
Or power lanterns.
Even though there are 7 power lanterns.
Even though there are 7.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that does it for this review and for this episode.
Yeah. We forgot to mention in the last episode, don't forget to send us your email suggestions for Battlecasts. We forgot to mention like the whole Twitter and email thing. So our email is dcmarvelbattlecast@gmail.com. You can reach us on Twitter, send us a tweet at DC Marvel Battle.
Mm-hmm. We're on SoundCloud. We're on iTunes. We're on YouTube now.
Yeah, subscribe to our YouTube.
Our YouTube channel is DC Marvel Battlecast. So we should be easy to find. The next episode, we will be reviewing the Daredevil Season 2 Netflix series, which also had a very dark tone, which is appropriate for the nature of the character. But it also, like this movie, doesn't have a whole lot of humor in it. But
it sounds like I liked it more than you did. And that's like
you don't hear a lot of people complaining about Daredevil, but I guess that's because
people are complaining about the dark tone of.
I think Netflix. I mean, the tone of the Marvel movies differs greatly from the Netflix series. I think it's nice to have that kind of adult, mature take on these heroes, and Marvel really kind of figured it out. That the way to get away with that is by putting on TV.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about the Daredevil season 2 before we do our review is that this show makes me wish that every single superhero movie was a TV show instead.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Because even in the few moments that we've had, I mean, Punisher already is a more fleshed out character than Ben Affleck's Batman.
Yeah. Yeah.
By far.
Comics were made for a long form medium. That's what comics are.
Right.
So.
Anyway,
yeah,
we'll discuss that more in the next episode. So yeah, don't forget to reach out to us, and we will see you next time.
Up and away.
True believers.